Depression. There was these workers that were put together to build roads. For a time, they got along well with one another. They were singing, they were happy, and they were just joyful that they had jobs. As time went on, they began to realize that they were building roads to nowhere, running off into desolate and despair places, and then stopping. As it dawned on us, the truth became aware to them that they were put to work solely to give them employment and an excuse to pay them survival money. They became listless, and they stopped working. An astute observer said, for a person to sing and work, they need to have the end in view. The story of the immigrants reminds me of the late Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The second habit was, begin with the end in mind. There's a verse in the gospel that it hit me and I built my homily around. And it can apply to that concept. It says, they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with great power and glory. Powerful statement. But can we see it in our mind's eye? Can we put that image of the Son of Man coming in our mind, in our eyes? Because if not, it's like building the road to nowhere. I was fortunate, many of us in our life, we have signs from God. Some are more visible than others. Several years ago, I was driving down the highway, listening to my favorite Christian group, the Casting Crowns. And they were playing one of my favorite songs, O Glorious Day. One day he's coming, O glorious day. And those lyrics I would sing in the car at the top of my lungs. There was nobody there. And as I looked up to my left, higher than me, into my windshield, there was an image of the glorified Christ. My heart skipped a beat, and I start thanking God. Thank you for letting me see that. Because even though I didn't need it for my own faith, it gave me a picture of what it was going to be like. That it was real, and it was going to happen. Jesus' second coming isn't going to be like the first. It's not going to be humble and meek like the first. There's going to be no meek infant in some obscure manger. This time he's coming and he'll shake the cosmos with great power and glory. Few seen him in Bethlehem, but Revelation chapter 1 says, all will see him, even those that reject him. In Mark's Gospel, we get to the gloomy part about that second coming. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will be falling, and the powers in heaven will be shaken. And if you're listening to the first reading from Daniel, it says, many of those who fall asleep in the dust of the earth shall awaken. Some will live forever. And others will fall to despair and horror. We're coming to the end of our church's liturgical year. 2 more weeks, if you can believe. We have the season of Advent approaching. 2 more weeks. And so, the themes of the readings here in these last few weeks point to the end times. But the gospel is not so much about the end of the world as it is a commentary on how to live in it. You heard there in the second part of the gospel the parable of the fig tree. in everyone's life, that fig tree grows and blossoms, reaps its special harvest, withers. You know, it's kind of that parable is kind of an image that can apply to our own lives. Because Jesus, he urges us to appreciate the gift of the limited time that we have left on the earth. And he asks us, will you be ready? Because you neither know the day nor the hour. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the last book of the Bible, Revelation. But I ask a question tonight. What is the last verse of the end of the Bible in Revelation? It's actually the second last verse. But does anyone know? Can anyone tell me the 3 words? What was that? Good. Because if you don't know those, my suggestion is you burn them into your memory tonight. Come, Lord Jesus. Isn't that a fitting end to the Bible and the apocalyptic readings that we heard today? Yes, we know Jesus is coming. But the important thing is not when. The important thing is, what will our readiness be to meet him? The story goes that St. Francis was working in his garden. And a friar came up to him and he said, what would you do differently if Jesus was coming today? He said, I would continue to hoe in my garden. Because Francis knew he was doing everything. He was doing his very best to be ready. That's all he could do. And so let us ask ourselves that question tonight. Are we doing our very best to be ready?